Hi, Rob Baldassare from the CRTA here with Andrew Cannata from Global Relay based in Austin, Texas, who's come up for our CRTA annual event. So Andrew, tell us a little bit about the company and what you do.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having us here. It's a great event so far, and we're just really excited to be a part of it. Global Relay, we are a digital archiving company for modern collaboration tools. We've been around for about 20 years. We're really the leader in archiving a vast array of digital communication tools that are used mainly by financial services. So 95% of our business is within the financial service realm, and we help over 20,000 customers archive and govern this really important data and heavily regulated data within our platform.
Wow, how long have you been doing that?
About 20 years.
So 20 years, okay.
Yes.
What do you see that's new and exciting? What gets you up in the morning these days?
Yeah, I am really excited about Global Relay's use of AI within this space, particularly for the surveillance of these modern collaboration tools. The number one problem, I would say, in this digital communication realm is just the vast amount of data that is created across a number of tools, not just email anymore. It's all the chat platforms, it's voice communication, video communication, private instant messaging, you name it. All of these tools generate a massive amount of content that is regulated, has to be surveilled, and I think the industry has been used to what has been acceptable with random sampling and how they surveil this type of communication, but those regulations are quickly changing, and soon random sampling is not going to be acceptable anymore, or at least the minimal amount of random sampling of this data isn't going to be acceptable. And the way that we are tackling that problem is through the use of AI. And I'm not talking about the old way of doing AI, which is these machine learning algorithms that have to be trained on a massive corpus of data, whether it be customer data or fake data, and then retuned every single time a company needs to look for something different. This is using the true power of a large language model and applying the data to it, and having the large language model help figure out where the risk is in all of your data, not just a small sample of your data.
Wow, that's interesting. And what's the reaction been like when you bring this to the market?
It's the number one question we get asked. It's the number one question I've been asked here at this conference is, how do we see this AI model that you have put out? How do we see this technology? How do we get our hands on it? How can we start seeing if it can surveil our data with the 11 policies that we have created for it? It is how organizations are wanting to surveil their communication data now, because they don't have teams big enough to handle the thousands of false positives that traditional lexicons create.
Right.
Even the old way of doing AI with machine learning policies are creating, and they're also starting to worry more about, well, what was missed in the capture of that data as well. So it's very interesting to the market. It is the number one question we get asked.
So it sounds like you're detecting a lot of excitement about it, probably at the user level. In terms of organizations shifting from the way they do things now or the way they did it in the past to actually adopting these new tools and solutions, what needs to happen for this to really take off?
Really, it's about understanding what data they care about, right? What communication channels they care about. Right now, I see a big shift in the market and consolidating tools. There's this big shift in they want to consolidate tools because it lessens the burden of compliance across dozens and dozens of tools versus picking the ones that they're going to go forward with for their internal communication and communications with their clients, and really focusing the compliance needs on those. So it's about figuring out what those tools are going to be, picking a partner, a vendor who can capture all of the modalities of that tool, right? It's not just about the tool. Each tool has instant messaging. Some of them have voice capabilities. They have voice memo capabilities, all of the robust features within the chat platforms. And you have to be able to capture all of that to have a complete data set to actually run the AI models on top of. And so, I say start with what tools are you going to go forward with, pick the vendor, Global Relay being one of the best out there for actually capturing the most amount of data out of these platforms. And then as far as how do you get started, with Global Relay, we just turn it on. We turn it on, we can turn it on for a subset of your users, we can turn it on for your organization, and you start seeing the benefits of these models right away.
So that sounds like a very low lift from a deployment point of view.
Yes,
Is that fair to say?
absolutely. It's
Wow.
a very low lift from a deployment standpoint, which is very different than how it has been in the past when you've been building these lexicon policies, having to train them, having to update lexicons, getting into machine learning. There's a lot of training that has to go in to making those models efficient. With this new AI and large language model offering that we have, it's really turn it on and start seeing the value.
Wow, interesting.
Yes.
Now, you're based in the U.S. You are in the Canadian market. Do you see differences between the Canadian market and the U.S. market?
We actually are a Canadian company, so our main headquarters is in Vancouver, and we were started as a Canadian company. And yes, we have offices in the U.S. We have office in London as well, because we serve global customers. I see very similar aspects to the Canadian market that I do to the U.S. market, but I think where I'm seeing more of the want to consolidate is in the Canadian markets right now.
Oh.
And a lot of people I've actually talked to here at the conference so far are talking about the consolidation effort.
The consolidation,
Right.
rationalization kind of a thing is higher priority.
It's higher
here?
priority here, and I think it has to do with the more strict guidelines on third-party risk, right? Not just in a lot of cases, not just third-party risk. It's third-party, fourth-party, fifth-party. Like
Down
all
the
of these
chain.
new technologies that are being adopted are either in a public cloud, and the public cloud has third-party services that they're using for all of this. And how do you manage all of that risk when, at the end of the day, the buck is going to stop with the organization deploying it now?
Right.
In fact, Global Relay has a really great story there too, because we run our own data centers. We run our data centers out of Canada. We manage the personnel, we manage the infrastructure, we manage the redundancy, the disaster recovery, the business continuity. We manage it all ourselves to really help our financial institutions say, well, this is where the risk is.
So you control the whole
That's
thing.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Wonderful. Andrew Cannata from Global Relay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.